Riley, there is no first round game with as many intriguing high profile storylines as Kansas and Arkansas. It's kind of disappointing this is a 7-10 game instead of like an Elite Eight matchup as we projected it to be in the preseason or so. But nonetheless, here we are in the 7-10 matchup in the West. What's got your eye? What is the most intriguing thing about this to you?
Which coach hates their team more? Like, I love the angle you're going from because I wrote the West preview for Heat Check CVB that's up now, and I put this as the best game of that region on the for the first round. And I acknowledged in the at the intro that this game would have been a banger 7 years ago. Like this would have been sick in 2018 when like Travis Scott is rapping sicko mode and people are still doing the Tide Pod challenge. Like this game would have been hype back then. 7 years later, it's lost a little bit of its luster, but it still is like Self versus Cal, and both of these teams have had I don't want disaster might be too strong of a season, but like we watched Kansas preseason #1 come crashing down to earth. Arkansas starts out 0-5 in SEC play and salvages something. And it's almost like here, is there any chance that one of these teams can take one tournament game, one tournament win, and maybe right the ship around because they both have a ton of talent? But yeah, I still think ultimately, like whoever wins this game, they're losing to St. John's in the next round, so it probably doesn't matter. But yeah, like both of these teams, they've kind of had some stars come on late. Like don't look now, but Zeke Mayo's made 15 threes over his last 3 games. He's playing really well. Carter Knox coming up strong down the stretch for Arkansas.
Mhm.
And at the same time, like what's interesting is like both these teams I would have thought were among the deepest going into the year, and they've really shortened up their rotation. Like guys who were expected to perform have not been up there. They've dealt with injury concerns, and it's almost like who was it in Romeo and Juliet? Who's Romeo's foil? Is it Mercutio? I think it's Mercutio. This is Romeo and Mercutio.
You're going far beyond my expertise. I know who Romeo and Juliet are. I could not name you anybody else. Oh my goodness. What do you make of Boogie Fland coming back from this game?
Oh, it strikes me as like he's going to play 15 minutes in this first game, and then Arkansas's probably going to like Cal's probably going to go away from him and lean on DJ Wagner and lean on what's been comfortable the past few weeks. I just
It
remember when,
feels it feels weird to just like throw somebody so ball dominant back into the fold right as the tournament's starting.
yeah, I'm not sure I'm a fan of that move. Granted, I mean, remember there was that time period when Arkansas won 3 of 4 games after their like 0-5 start, and
Yeah,
it was like, oh, they're better without Boogie Fland. That kind of went away quickly. I mean, they still, I wouldn't say they really lit the world on fire down the stretch of SEC play. Of course, they had the blowout loss in Columbia to where I can't for sure say like, oh, they're definitely going to be better without Boogie Fland, who's a projected first round pick. It just seems like a weird dynamic to throw him back into this. I don't really know what I would do if I was Cal. How do you manage minutes, egos, things of that nature? Um, where it might be worth the risk because I think he is like the most talented player in the guard room.
yeah, like it's one of those things you are not worse with him because
Mhm.
talent-wise he is probably your best player. But you couldn't find a formula that worked with him. You found one that got you to the tournament when you were not a tournament team with him. You found a formula that worked without him. And now you're trying to put him back into the fold. It feels weird. The first thing that popped in my mind with all of this was when Kyrie Irving's lone year at Duke, when he missed a substantial stretch of time and came back for the NCAA tournament. Can't remember if he
Mhm.
played a little bit beforehand or not, but he came back like for the tournament essentially. Duke won 30 games before the tournament, won the ACC tournament title, got to the tournament, cruised past Hampton, were in a dogfight with Michigan in the second round, and then lost to Arizona in big fashion in the Sweet 16. Like fell short of lofty expectations as the defending champs, largely because they were out of sync. Because you threw in somebody who was incredibly talented, Kyrie bleeping Irving, and things just weren't clicking because you didn't have the time to get back and track. Boogie Fland, I think, is not Kyrie Irving. Can't imagine it works out better for Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Kyrie just to have the guard comp because I was kind of thinking about MPJ when he like didn't play the whole season, then was just there during the tournament for Mizzou. And I want to say he might have taken like 25 shots in that game. And
That's very
I know
unlike MPJ.
I know Boogie's a good facilitator. Like I think he was averaging close to 6 assists a game before the injury. But there is part of me because you mentioned it. He's a ball dominant. He's a shot creator, a great
Yeah,
pull-up jumper, like great at shooting pull-up jumpers. I do wonder if there's a little bit of like, all right, Boogie, you're in off the bench, and it's just like, all right, this is my turn to rock out, and it like throws off the rhythm of everything. At the same time, I'm still like Arkansas is really lighting anybody up. I don't know. Maybe they're better than I'm giving them credit for offensively, but I haven't really thought of Arkansas's brand this year as like this gorgeous offense that you can't risk messing that up, you know?
that is fair. They are 73rd nationally in offense per Ken Palm. Both of these teams have top 20 defenses. Both of them have offenses that has left something to be desired throughout the course of the season. Do you have more faith in Arkansas's offense or Kansas's offense right now?
Uh, Gosh, man, neither.
It's that's
Like,
like there's a chance this game is played in like the high 50s.
yeah, I'm looking at like potential advantages, and I think Carter Knox's play down the stretch is really encouraging for Arkansas. I know this was a just kind of in prep for this, a stat I found about Knox that even highlighted like how well he'd been playing that. Even I didn't realize he's the 11th freshman in Razorback history to have 250 points, 100 plus rebounds, 30 assists, and 10 blocks in a season. That seems significant. At the same time, like he's one of 11. It's not like he's one of three, so maybe he's not that big of a difference maker. Um, but I see Carter Knox and even the way Billy Richmond has played down the stretch as huge advantages over just the contagion of mid that Kansas starts on the wing, whether it's Rylan Griffin, whether it's Diggy Coit, whether it's AJ Storr, whether it's Shaq Moore who's going to be back, which never forget we ranked Kansas the best wing group in the country going into the season on sleepersmedia.com,
We
or
did.
excuse me, not sleepersmedia.com, the Sleepers Media YouTube channel. Um, but when I think about it, it's like Hunter's probably the best offensive weapon in this game. And I've been a big believer in Zeke Mayo all season, even though he's had his fair share of shooting slumps. It's just like both of these units kind of get bogged down at times and go through these droughts. That's like, ugh, what is going on? But where are you at between these two offenses?
I think Kansas's has shown more consistency, and it's been passable slash above average when Zeke Mayo is making shots and playing well. And he's been playing well of late. So I'm going to trust in that and in Bill Self more than I'm going to trust in John Calipari and Arkansas trying to flow Fland, trying to throw Fland into the mix here. Now, there's a chance that it works for Calipari. We also have to factor in like his recent tournament success has not been great, and he's not been great at making adjustments. And so you're asking him to make pre-game and in-game adjustments with Fland. I don't know how that's going to work. Carter Knox's play though has been great with the Thiero being dinged up. Like that's helped Arkansas kind of maintain where they were at, where they weren't really sweating the bubble. You also need a big Z game, a big Z game from Arkansas. The best performances that they've had have been Ivisic being really good. There's a chance he is against Kansas, but I don't know. Like you're gonna have to play Jonas Adu a ton of minutes to play
Mhm.
defense on Hunter Dickinson. What does that do to the rest of your defense if Ivisic has to guard in the perimeter? Do you not play him at all? Because then that limits your offense. I think Dickinson being the best offensive player on the court, as you mentioned, is great for that purpose. But I also think what his presence does to Arkansas's big man rotation could play just as big of a role.
It's a really good point. To Adu's credit, I mean, he's had three straight games, double figure scoring. It's like he has picked up his play a little bit. And I've always thought like he clearly has affected the defense positively when he's been healthy. He's just sort of been like in and out of the lineup all year, and it's never really felt like his minutes have been all that consistent. Like there's that weird stretch in February where he was playing under 20 minutes a game. Of course, he was injured to start the year. I don't know. Like he's one of those players it's always been tough for me to read where, he anchored a top five defense for 2 years at Tennessee. He's a really good shot blocker, but we also saw him struggle to contain really physical bigs. I think back to a game you and I were at together when they played North Carolina in the Dean Dome and Armando Bacot put him in a blender. Then, of course, last year's Elite Eight where he did nothing against Zach Edey. I want to say he had under 5 points that game. And granted, Edey did that to a lot of players. But even the last time, like when he was at Tennessee and they played Kansas in the Battle for Atlantis, he only gave them, not Battle for Atlantis, it was Maui. He only gave them 8 points. Had
Mhm.
3 blocks to go with that, so he might be able to do some damage there. But yeah, I just see this being a game where Arkansas's highest upside probably involves a lot of Big Z and letting him shoot some threes, hoping he gets hot. But you are going to need to kind of play situational basketball when it comes to slowing down Dickinson, at least attempting to slow down Dickinson as much as you can with Adu. And I kind of think both backfire a little bit.
They might. They might. Ken Pom thinks they will. He's got Kansas winning this game 73 to 69 over Arkansas. Still a close game, but the Jayhawks coming out on top on Ken Pom. Do you agree?
I think I do. Kansas is really anytime I buy back in on Kansas, they find a way to sort of crap themselves. But I still take Self and March over Cal. I think Cal has to wait one more year before he finally gets another win in the tournament. And I mean, Bill Self probably unceremoniously exits the next round, but I just think even though I like the way Arkansas's wings are playing better right now, I'm still just gonna buy Zeke Mayo's recent hot play. I'm buying Dickinson as the most skilled offensive player. I don't really like saying I'm buying DeJuan Harris, but DeJuan Harris has been there before, national champion point guard, to where I'm like, maybe he elevates himself and Marsh a little bit too.
If Andrew Catalon and Steve Lapis, who are doing the game, do not give us a Kansas, Arkansas, your Kansas at some point in the game, I'm going to be a little bit upset. I do think Kansas wins this game, though, for all the reasons you mentioned. I trust their offense a little bit more. I trust the talent a little bit more, the experience a little bit more. And I trust Bill Self a little bit more, which anytime you give me a choice to trust Bill Self, I'm going to do it.